Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chai with Us podcast. This is episode number 43. I am Erica, the personal developer.
Hi, and I'm Ivana from Uncle Isabel.
Yeah, and today we're going to talk about social empathy.
That's right. And today I'm drinking a peppermint tea. What about you?
Nice. Today I'm drinking rose tea, keeping it simple.
Yes.
And I actually got a new message. Okay,
Oh,
I was
good. What is
complaining
it?
last week and I didn't see this message before. May the peace of inner self bring us joy.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, because like you know that sometimes I think that people like you and me will say this all the time. Like I don't want to be happy, I want to be peaceful.
Yes.
I want to be
Yes.
at peace. That's like my main goal with life, I know.
Yeah. It's very true. Good
uh
message.
yeah. Listen, so today we're going to talk about social empathy and I couldn't be more excited. I just discovered this term like a week ago or something. I
Mm-hmm.
was walking down the street and I was like thinking about some conversations that I've been having with people that I know, especially about racism, feminism, and stuff like that. Mainly racism and feminism, gotta be honest. And I was just walking, going to work, and I was like, people say that they are, they have empathy, that they are empaths. We hear this all the time. I'm an empath. We all have a lot of empathy, but
Mm-hmm.
then when it comes to certain groups, it seems like we're lacking this empathy. And I was
Yes.
like, well, maybe we should start talking about social empathy, just thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was sharing this with my boyfriend. We were like we're not overeating, but over dinner. And I was like, look, this is so, don't you think that like, and then I named someone who actually had a conversation with me. And I was like, okay, this is a very empathic person. Like, why can't she have empathy for this situation that I'm telling her right now? Like,
Yeah.
where is your empathy right now for the group of
Mm-hmm.
people that is being affected? And
Mm-hmm.
so we were like, okay, let's look it up. And we looked it up and we stumbled across this term of social empathy.
Yes.
And I will take this segue and read it if you are okay with that. The just
Sorry?
the, I'm going to take this segue and just read what social empathy
Yes,
means.
please. Okay.
So, social empathy is the ability to understand people by perceiving or experiencing their life situations, and as a result, this is the interesting part, gain insight into structural inequalities and disparities.
Yes.
I absolutely love this term. Uh, I think that Elizabeth Siegel was the one who came up with the term, but to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't dig in a lot, and I was watching an interview with her, and she has a book on social empathy. If you want to read more, I will definitely do. Her name is Elizabeth Siegel. There is a talk on YouTube that's very cool about it,
Yeah. And
and
I think she's a
yeah.
professor at the University of Arizona.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
so. She's a professor. It's true. And yes, so that was like my inspiration to talk about this subject. I don't know how you feel about it. Like, what is it that
Mm-hmm.
you want to share?
Yeah, so for me, I think maybe some of us have already been socially empathetic. We just didn't know that there's now a term for it.
Yeah, I think so. But like, what strikes me the most is the fact that we talk about empathy so much, and that we go around saying that we are empaths and everything, but then we cannot empathize with women and their
Mm-hmm.
struggle, or we cannot
Mm-hmm.
empathize with women of color or any people
Mm-hmm.
of different color. And I think that when you give, sometimes we name things too much, right? We
Yes.
name things too much and we divide things too much.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, I think it's very important, like, to give it a name so
Yeah.
people can, like, oh, okay, so if I want to have empathy, if I say that I'm like an empath, I should have, be able to have empathy for like groups of people as well, because we are all
Mm-hmm.
used to the term empathy, but like,
Mm-hmm.
are we really, like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And
I think because we focus so much on empathy on like one person instead of groups of people.
yes, yes, it's true. And the the beautiful example that I find about this is just people that say, for example, from their heart, they say, "I have a black friend. I'm not a racist." Like
Yeah.
probably you have empathy for that black friend and
Mhm.
your friendship and you know their struggles,
Mhm.
but you probably don't have an idea about the big picture.
Right.
You don't have empathy for the group that is trying to
Mhm.
come at you and show you like what is happening in people
Mhm.
of colors, community
Mhm.
and world. And you know what, like I'm guilty of that as well.
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about like the world I live in and how much how many stuff I have, I own
Mhm.
like stuff. It's like, am I empathizing with people that are working like slaves to
Mhm.
make my clothes,
Right. Yeah.
Um, and this is so freaking interesting and new, and I'm
Mhm.
excited talking about it. But I don't want people to think that I'm just pointing fingers. I'm actually checking myself as well. Like,
Mhm.
am I being empathetic? But really, because where we and my boyfriend talk about this all the time, like clothes, they just don't, they come from places where people work for little money and like, am I empathizing? Like, where is the limit of our empathy? Because
Mhm.
I go around and I consider myself, an empath. Like, oh, I
Mhm.
can empathize with anyone. But here
Yeah.
I am buying clothes that I don't need. So I do have, responsibility on that, and I'm trying
Mhm.
to check myself and do
Yeah.
things in a different way.
I didn't even think about that, but that was so simple. Like you're right about the clothes. Like that's not something that I even thought about. But it's like where are we buying our clothes? Where are they coming from?
Yeah.
And are they coming from countries where people are not paid a living wage?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean,
Mhm.
like, do you consider yourself like as an? I think you consider yourself as an empath, but have you considered like that your or thought about that your empathy can have like limits, as we're
Yes.
trying to discuss right now? It's just so
Absolutely.
crazy.
So I think so. And it's probably because I've not met all the people I need to meet and all the cultures I've experienced. I think it just depends on like how close-minded you are or how close off you are to meeting other groups that are so completely different than you. I think the more we're open to meeting people that are very different from us, the more we can become open-minded and the more we can become socially empathetic.
Hmm. It is
But we need to
true.
be exposed to them. So it's like, where are you living? Like in some way, I'm lucky that I live in the US because we have so many different people from all over the world living here and you get
Hmm.
exposed to them. But if you live in a very homogeneous society or culture, it can be very difficult for you to empathize with someone that's so completely different from you.
Yeah. And like talking about exposure, don't you think that right now there's someone that says that like if you are dumb in 2020 or 2021, that's because you want to, because there's so much
Hmm.
information.
Yes.
Like, and I think that yes, it's true. Luckily, I am someone who has been, exposed to different cultures and just, just having a black father and a mom who is mixed, so,
Hmm.
I noticed that there are different people in the world. And then I grew up in Portugal. And when I
Yes.
went there, when we arrived, there were no black people around, just
Hmm.
only white people. So I was
Hmm.
gradually in touch with different cultures.
Yes.
But like there are certain topics that I had to dig in and go online and, and do some
Hmm.
research and I think that it's a little bit sad that our like empathy and stuff like that is limited to the exposure that we get, because
Yes.
like how about being a little bit, curious about things, like
Hmm.
just to do your research and to see how people live in different places
Hmm.
of the world, or people around you, because sometimes it's like people that are around you, you just don't connect with
Yeah.
them.
But I think today's society is all about me, me, me. It's all about like how I'm living and what I'm doing, and we're not so focused on other people. Like it's become a very like me culture, unfortunately, in the past couple of years. And
Yeah.
you see that with all those. I'm so tired of all the selfies, like and the selfie sticks. I'm sorry.
I like
But
soccer.
you know what I'm talking about.
I know I have one. But I know what you mean. We are so freaking self-centered. Come
Yes.
on. I was born in Africa, but like I grew up in Europe. Like I have to take the blame as well. We
Mhm.
are so freaking spoiled and self-centered.
Mhm.
Um, it's crazy. It's
And I
crazy.
think that begins to change once you start to travel and to experience new things. I mean, for me, it was such a life-changing experience the first time I went to India because I saw such poverty that I'd never seen before.
Mhm.
And everything that I experienced in India has changed my life forever. Like, I now no longer throw away food. Like, I try to eat everything and I try to reuse things or remake it in some way because there, like, the food is not, it's not like that. Like, a lot of people don't get food.
Yeah.
And so for me, like being there completely changed how I live my life.
Yeah, it's true. So do you think you are like more, you have more social empathy because of your travelings, you would
I think
say?
so. I think that really opened up my mind. Like there's a difference between reading it in a book and actually going and experiencing it for
Yeah,
yourself. You know what I mean?
absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and what about things like, when we talk about like the women's struggle and stuff? Um, I mean, uh, I'm talking about this because sometimes it's just so frustrating that people don't understand that there's
Hmm.
really a difference between like in living as a woman and
Yes,
it's men.
absolutely.
Like there's a freaking difference, and some people seem like they don't understand. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what world do we live in? Like, where do I have to send this person? Like, where do I have to
Yeah.
send this person to? Like, because obviously, like, I had a discussion, and it doesn't have to do with feminism, but I was like asking this person, like, she was like, I never experienced, and I was like, yes, of course
What?
not. Like, have
Really?
I never experienced. We were talking about racism, yeah.
Okay.
So a white woman, and I'm a black woman. Obviously, you can see me, my
Okay.
beautiful complexion. And she was like, I never experienced it. And I was like,
Okay.
obviously, like, have you ever been shopping as a black woman? Like, no. So
Mhm.
obviously, you cannot experience. And so I'm like, sometimes it looks like empathy is limited to what we can
Perceive.
perceive, like what we
Mhm.
can see and
Mhm.
feel, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, do you need to go travel and feel something in your skin to actually be an empath?
I don't think so, but I think it helps. I think I don't think you need to. I think just exposing yourself to different cultures within your own community can help. And
Mm-hmm.
having friends from different places. I have friends from I think over 30 countries. So I really love multiculturalism. I've always been like that. When I grew up in Bosnia, like my best friend was a Muslim. And if you
Mm-hmm.
know anything about the Bosnian War, it was a lot about Bosnians versus Serbs and Croats.
Yeah.
And so like I didn't grow up like that. Like I had a best friend that was Muslim, and so like I had a different perspective. So I think it's all about exposure, but I think traveling definitely helps. But then again, it also depends on how you're traveling. Like if you're just going with like your group and you're not meeting other people and you don't care to get to know
Yeah.
them or learn anything about their country, then travel does not help you be more empathetic.
Yeah, because people, but like, let's just say it, like some people really don't care. And
Exactly.
the more you explain, it's just like
Exactly.
there's nothing coming through. and
Yeah.
and it's true, yeah, if you are open to it. It's just because that a lot of problems in the world that we are experiencing right now, it has to do with empathy and the lack of
Right.
empathy. And
I I think a lot of it starts with your parents of like how like you were raised. You know what I mean? Like it all starts
mm,
with like your home first, like of
mhm,
like learning empathy and do you care about the pain of another? You know what I
mm,
mean? Like so if you didn't have those building blocks, I think it's very difficult later in life to develop them.
but most of the people that I know that are very empathetic are people who have been through a lot of pain.
Okay?
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like people were not very empathetic with me. Not to say that I'm the empath queen.
Okay.
Just like I'm thinking out here because I had a concept of empathy that was like, okay, you put yourself in someone else's shoes, and I actually looked around my surroundings and
Mhm.
and people, and I was like, oh, this person is very empathetic, you just,
Mhm.
and now I'm just reconsidering the term, and I'm
Okay.
thinking like, are we saying that we are empathetic when we're not,
Could
or
be.
do we have the concept wrong?
Yeah.
Because last time I checked, we are not very empathetic right now as a society. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yes.
And I'm like, where is this thing coming from? Like, did we lose empathy or what the hell
Mhm.
is going on? Because I see a lot of things like people not wanting to wear a mask because,
Yes. Oh yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, I have to be like that because not going to be apologetic over here. Like, you have to wear a freaking mask. That's not so
I
difficult.
agree.
If
I
you
don't
don't,
know why it's
oh,
such a like I to me I have a hard time understanding people that don't want to wear a mask. Like I and maybe I'm not being empathetic to them. I
no,
don't
we're
know.
not. I'm not. And I don't care. I'm
I
not
don't
empathetic.
get it. I don't know why it's such a big issue. Like just put a mask on.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, and I see that the empathy only comes when you are affected by
Yes.
something, you know?
Mhm.
Like, you don't take things seriously and you don't care about wearing a mask and everything is
Mhm.
okay until something happens within your family. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And then there's empathy. It's just like that thing that, humans, we have to suffer to,
Yes. Mhm.
like, maybe we have to suffer a lot to be
Yeah.
really, like, really empathetic, because I'm realizing that we are not that empathetic as we think.
I think suffering and pain helps is a great teacher. You know what I mean? If we've been through life where something has happened to us, whatever it is, it makes us like be more empathetic, I think, because it allows
Mm-hmm.
you because you have a different perspective. Like your life wasn't all perfect and rosy and everything was
Mm-hmm.
great. It wasn't like that. You had a struggle,
Mm.
you had something happen to you that really forced you to look at like what is life and how can I go on living like this?
Oh, it makes total sense. Yeah, it makes total sense because things hit you in a different way. Like,
Absolutely.
how if you saw pain, like real pain, you're
Mhm.
either going to inflict it, or you're going to be kind of a, a healer and someone
Mhm.
who's very sensitive to other people's pain.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was very interesting what you said. I think that this subject is so fascinating.
Yes. What I
And
love about
mhm,
social empathy is that the more you're doing it or the more you're experiencing it and going through it, it allows you to like make society better, I think. I think the more social empathy we have, the better societies we have because you realize that there are some people like minorities that need to have certain structures within society to help them be on the same level as other people because they're disadvantaged. And so we need to help them out as a society. And I think some
mhm.
people like don't understand that. They just believe that everyone is equal and that like no one needs an extra help. And I to me I don't understand that. Like I don't understand how
Ah,
you don't see it.
it is so frustrating.
It is
It
frustrating.
is frustrating. Like, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, because I live in kind of a, I don't live in a bubble. I like to, to hang around. And now with COVID, I'm more living in a bubble, more and more,
Mhm.
because I only go and have coffee with certain people. I don't go out as much, so I only
Mhm.
see the same people. And well, they think alike,
Right.
we think alike. And sometimes I hear certain things, and I'm like, oh my God, like, where did you come from? Like, what planet was it? Um, I had one person. I wasn't expecting to share this, but I'm gonna share it. I had one person saying to my face that some dogs are racist.
That what?
That some dogs are racist.
Okay.
And she was serious. And she was starting to, to explain.
Okay.
Shut up. Stop talking. Okay? Just shut up. And then I put this, like, at the back of my brain, like really in the back, like, because
Yeah.
I'm like, what the F in the effing world? Like, with like a young woman. You know what
I
I'm
think some owners are racist and the dogs like exhibit their owners' experience. I think that can happen.
I just think that racism is a social construct and the dogs don't have the capacity to be racist. But what the F? Like, and talking about empathy, like, I am a black person and you are saying that to my face while I have my dog here. Like, this, and this was because a black person was coming and the guy was selling stuff, and my dog, he doesn't like when people come with a lot of like voluminous stuff,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and so he starts barking, to protect us and to be like a macho dog. Like,
So was she trying to say your dog was racist?
yeah, and she was like, she started like this. Sorry, I should have started like this. She was like, I was about to say that your dog was racist, but, and then she proceeds to say, some dogs are racist because of this. And I was like, shut up.
Wow.
And so, like, where is your empathy? Like, why would you say that to a black person? Like, do you think that's okay? Anywho, sorry, this is getting too personal. But like seriously, like all day long,
Mhm.
I see lack of empathy in people, and
Mhm.
um and there is interpersonal empathy, which I think most of us have because we have empathy for our brothers and sisters,
Mhm.
our mom, our dad's issues, and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
then we have to start, dividing a little bit this empathy situation,
Mhm.
because there's this social empathy that I think we suck at it.
Yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with in group, out group, really. Like, because we're so focused on our in group, the group that we're in, that we
Mhm.
have a hard time empathizing with people that are in the out group, the group that is not us.
Mhm.
And I think I took a whole class on this. It was very fascinating on group dynamics and how groups work. It is
Yeah.
amazing, like how strong the bond is within a group. And like then
We
when an
are,
idea comes
yeah.
that
Mhm.
doesn't, go with what the group like accepts, then the group will not accept it no matter what. And so that group bond is very strong. And of course, groups are, women, black people, white people, Spanish people. Like we group ourselves into these groups, and we have
Mhm.
such a hard time looking outside of that.
Mm. What's the solution then? Because I mean, the way we're going, I don't know what's going to happen, as
I
humans.
think it's to really just be open minded. It's to be open minded and to maybe start within your own community, start joining other groups. Like there's Meetup, which I don't know how that's working now with COVID. Like a lot of things are closed and not meeting. But what you can do, you're like you said it perfectly at the beginning, start educating yourself. Start looking at what is
Mm-hmm.
social empathy. Start reading some articles about it. Maybe check out a couple of books,
Yeah.
and start questioning your own belief system and question yourself like, do I really have social empathy? Am I really an empathetic person, or am I only empathetic when it suits me, when it suits the ideas that I have?
Yes. Thank you. Because that freaking hurts, Like
Mhm.
while I was, I'm having these conversations with myself and I'm like checking myself. And yeah, and sometimes like empathy is all about like, you know, it's from my group,
Mhm. Mhm.
then the person will say thank you. And then then maybe they will help me out. Oh, because as humans, we know how to mimic things, right? So
Mhm.
it's very
Mhm.
easy. We all know what empathy is. So
Yes.
I listen to this person, right? I understand. But then do you grasp it? Do you really like
Right.
understand the feeling and everything that comes with it? Because we're
Mhm.
missing the second part. We're like listening and tweeting,
Mhm.
and some people tweet, I don't, but tweeting and posting on Instagram, and then the second part of really grasping and understand deeply um,
Mhm.
what's going on. We don't do it. um,
Mhm.
I have a question for you, well, for both of us, because I will think with you.
Okay.
But like, so the solutions that we're presenting, like educating yourself and create communities. And I think we spoke about it a few episodes ago. I wanted to live more in the community. I don't know if it was a conversation. Sorry. Um,
Mhm.
like these solutions are, I think they're good for people who are already open minded.
Right.
Because, like, because if someone is open minded, you can, you can, even though you hear stupid comments and ignorant stuff, like we are all ignorant in something, like you
Mhm.
can kind of guide them, because some people are open to it. Like, what do we do with people that are like, mm, that-
I don't know. I don't know what we do with those people. I mean, honestly, experience is the best way to learn things. And so if they can be exposed to people that are different than them by
yes,
travel, I
yes,
think it's the best way for them to learn and to be open-minded. And I know so many people that come to India that come back changed, and maybe that's not the way that they expected it when they first went on this trip, but
hmm,
something happens to them and they change. So if everyone can just go somewhere that's so completely different than their reality, and then they can there's no way that they're going to be able to stay the same, because something is going to happen to them where they're going to feel changed and be able to look at things differently. It might be like slowly, but it's going to happen.
yes, yes, it's true. It's true. I do agree with you. And the thing about traveling is that, in regards to racism and colorism and stuff like that, it helps you a lot. And
Mhm.
sometimes what worries me the most is like women issues or fat phobia.
Mhm.
That it's like these people, they really need to get, serious education. But as you said, like, I mean, you have to do something for yourself. You have to
Mhm.
want to. And sometimes I think it's more about, as as bad it may seem sometimes, it's just like, leave these people alone and just
Yeah.
lead by example,
Mhm.
and keep spreading the message, because sometimes it's really pure ignorance,
Right.
sometimes it's just like, you bump on a document about gender violence,
Mhm.
and then it changes your mind. So
Mhm.
I think that us as people who are, kind of active on YouTube and stuff, just like spreading the message and talking about things like we're doing now,
Mhm.
and hopefully someone will hear, someone will
Yeah.
listen, and it will, cling, turn on a light
I
somewhere.
hope so.
I hope so. But like, I really love these conversations that I think that are
Mhm.
so important. And it's so crazy. Like, such one concept can change. Like, for me, it was like it changed a lot for me. Just the
Mhm.
fact that I was like, okay, I was thinking, and I was like, okay, there is this concept. Am I doing that?
Mhm.
Like, what am I doing?
Mhm.
Am I a fake empath?
I started asking myself, there was like a little quiz, and I started asking myself, like, do I agree with, like, do I do this? Do I do this? And one of the questions was no, like, and it was on political issues. It was like, do you listen to other people's political issues, political ideas that are different than yours? And I just said no, because I'm so tired of listening to them. I had 4 years of listening to them.
I don't care. Talk to the head. But I mean, but it's okay. Like, we are in this planet, we're here, like, not to be perfect. We're learning, like, and
Right.
growing. And for me, the best thing is like to discover new things and get excited and change and
Yeah.
evolve as a person. So of
Mhm.
course we're not going to be perfect at it, but I love the fact that this term is out there,
Yes.
and that people can, like, check themselves, and
Mhm.
and people, and myself included. I just told you, i'm gonna
Mhm.
i'm gonna start being more conscious about this, empathy that I have, and to broaden a little bit more my empathy, because I have to
Mhm.
admit that my empathy was a little bit limited. I could empathize better, with Black people,
Yeah.
women, you know, and another, like, different issues, but because I have people who are close to me that are dealing with
Mhm.
it. So I'm working on it as well.
Yeah, I think it's always a learning process, and I'm so glad that we found this term, because now we know what to call it.
Yes, yes. And it's one of the examples where it is important to have a name for things, you know?
Mhm.
Oh, I've been obsessed with, I am obsessed with North Korea. And I'm
Okay.
always watching documentaries. And there is this girl, woman, not girl, sorry, Yuna Park, maybe. She has a YouTube channel, and she always talk about the fact that you don't use the word freedom in North
Okay.
Korea.
Mhm.
So with reason, they don't use the word freedom. So people don't know what that means,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So when you know the concept freedom, you're like, am I free?
Exactly.
So social empathy for me was like, it's not the same, obviously, I cannot compare, but it's like
Mhm.
one of those terms that I'm like, people need to know about this term, and they need to start, we need to start checking if we
Mhm.
are applying it, if we know what it means. And because as a society, of course, we have to be social empaths, like
Yeah.
we
I
have
think the
to.
more empathetic you are, the greater the good behavior of people goes up because you can empathize for other people, and then like your
Yes.
behavior starts to be better towards them, and then
Yeah.
you just have better societies overall. So the more empathetic we can be, the better societies we can have.
Yeah. And let's start with, getting more information, look things
Mhm.
up, I'm starting to, for example, I always listen to the same podcasts. And I'm like, why am I listening to the same thing over and over? Like, there comes to a point where, you kind of
Mhm.
repeat yourself, and it happens with us.
Yes.
We kind of repeat ourselves.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm like, let me listen to different podcasts on different topics. Like, I still love the topics I always listen to.
Mhm.
But in order to be, on top of what's happening, what people are feeling, where we are
Mhm.
as a society, like, I cannot be like, mm, and listening to the same thing. Like, I have to, broaden a little bit. So that's like
True.
a simple idea,
Mhm.
for you to start knowing more about other people, because
Mhm.
we cannot empathize with things that we don't know, or people that we don't know,
Exactly.
or groups that we don't know. I think that's a good point that you have made over and over.
Mhm. Yeah.
And yeah, oh, it's so exciting.
We want to hear from our audience. Like, have you experienced social empathy? Like, what does social empathy mean to you? And what do you think we can do? How can we improve social empathy? What are some tools that you believe that we need to have?
And let us know, like, is it new? Is it a new term for you, or did you know it all along? Just
Mm-hmm.
let us know. I'm very curious and excited. That's it, everybody. Thank you very much for watching us and for listening, because I know there's some
Thank you
people on
so much.
Spotify. Bye bye. See you next week.
Bye.